What's going on, everybody? JV Wins and Dogon SS. We are here once again, kicking it with y'all on this New Year's Eve. We hope everybody is enjoying a festive and relaxing holiday period of time of the year before the grind resets at the top of 2025. So hopefully you've been able to get that R&R in as we gear up to crush it for another year, man. So much appreciation to everybody who has been joining us along for the ride. Shouts out to everybody who's been hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, leaving those comments, letting us know where you think we went right or wrong with any of our thoughts on any of these various topics. We certainly appreciate it as we continue to produce this logical content. One thing that I did want to mention real quick before we get started is we are now available on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts. So if you're not in position to watch the videos, if you prefer to not watch the videos, if you're on the go and you want to, slide your headphones in and kind of listen to us audio style, podcast style, check us out on Spotify. We're just trying to be in all the relevant places so that anyone who appreciates it, wants to engage with us in this commentary, you have the opportunity to do so, whether it's on YouTube or not. So I just wanted to put that out there. But otherwise, I hope everybody is staying safe, enjoying the time with those that are close to you. And if not, I certainly hope that you are on the road to making that happen for yourself in the upcoming year. It is never too late. There is always ample time for a reset. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. First thing that we are going to discuss this evening is efforts being made by everyone's favorite president, Donald Trump, to apparently save TikTok. So for anyone who is unaware, the Joe Biden administration has put forth a potential ban on the social media app TikTok if it doesn't divest from its parent company, which is Chinese-based, and allow an American-based, or I guess a non-Chinese-based company to take over that mantle of having the majority stake in the social media giant. And they're citing, national security and all sorts of other reasons as to why TikTok needs to either divest or face being permanently banned from the United States. And it has a lot of people not too happy about that. People who are using TikTok, leveraging it for opportunities, business and advertising and, influencing opportunities, all that kind of stuff. So TikTok is all the rage now. I would say that at this point it has overtaken Instagram as perhaps the number one social media app used by, outlook on what TikTok has become, at least up to this point. And ahead of him taking over for his second administration, Donald Trump is appealing to the Supreme Court for a delay on the TikTok ban because he wants to seek a political resolution so that it does not end up getting banned. So we'll go ahead and play a little, we'll play as well as show an article that kind of gets into some of the background with this because it is interesting news for all those who do use TikTok, which is a lot of people these days. So this says President-elect Donald Trump requests the Supreme Court delay TikTok ban. President-elect Donald Trump urged the Supreme Court on Friday to delay a potential ban on TikTok, seeking time to address the issue through political negotiations. His request comes as TikTok and the Biden administration submitted competing briefs to the court. TikTok advocates for overturning the law and the government emphasizing its necessity to safeguard national security. Trump's brief, filed by his chosen Solicitor General, D. John Sauer, refrains from taking sides in the legal battle. It asks the court to stay the January 19th, 2025 deadline requiring TikTok to divest from its China-based parent company, ByteDance. President Trump takes no position on the underlying merits of this dispute, the filing states, adding that the delay would allow for a political resolution. This legal maneuver reflects Trump's growing involvement in national issues ahead of his inauguration. The president-elect has begun negotiations urging Republicans to reject a bipartisan plan. He continues to hold meetings with international leaders at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Trump will take off in February 2026. His involvement is the latest example of Trump inserting himself into national issues before he takes office. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit upheld the law, prompting TikTok to take its appeal to the Supreme Court. TikTok's attorneys criticized the government's position, arguing it relies on speculative risks that China might exploit the platform through ByteDance. They noted that U.S. officials lack evidence of such interference, emphasizing that fears are based on hypothetical future threats. The Biden administration maintains that TikTok's ties to ByteDance pose an inherent risk, citing concerns over data privacy. The government's brief underscores that TikTok's reliance on technology developed in China underscores the potential vulnerabilities. TikTok's oral argument is set for January 10th, 2025. Trump seeks the ability to resolve the issues at hand through political means once he takes office. The president-elect secured the election in November after beating Kamala Harris in the Electoral College. So here is a brief video clip from CNN that kind of details what's going on with this particular situation.
Now to a Fox 5 News story. President-elect Trump asking the Supreme Court to pause banning TikTok before a law takes effect next month. It comes as TikTok makes the final plea of its own. Our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, in the newsroom tonight with the latest. Katie.
Hey, good evening, Kenneth. Today, both TikTok and the Biden administration made their best case to the justices in dueling briefs that were ordered and expedited by the court ahead of oral argument in the case 2 weeks from today. TikTok says the ban violates the First Amendment guarantee to freedom of expression. The Biden administration says TikTok and its Chinese parent company pose a serious threat to national security. President-elect Trump took the rare move of filing his own brief, telling the court to leave it to him to strike a deal that will save the app. Lawyers for TikTok compared the app to a modern-day newspaper, touting its 170 million monthly users in the United States and citing articles about the millions of younger Americans who get their news from TikTok. The law passed by Congress last April requires TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to either sell off the app or be banned in the U.S. Officials are concerned that the Chinese government, a foreign adversary, could gain access to user data and manipulate the content that they see. But TikTok's lawyers say the American platform is run by an American company, TikTok Inc., and no arm of the Chinese government has an ownership stake, directly or indirectly, in TikTok Inc. or ByteDance Limited. Virginia's Attorney General Jason Miyares has filed a brief supporting the Biden administration and telling the court to uphold the ban.
A lot of responses here, Katie, but what about the Biden administration's argument?
Today, the DOJ said there's no meaningful separation between the Chinese government and a so-called private company because of the authoritarian structures of the Chinese regime, and that the government has a compelling interest in preventing China from harvesting Americans' data. And that includes age, phone number, precise location, internet address, device used, phone contacts, and more.
All right, so there you go. And I think earlier I said that was a CNN clip. That's not CNN. That's a Fox affiliate in DC. Yeah, so that's a local DC Fox affiliate. But yes, so China is a foreign adversary. That sounds very ominous. So, what do you think about old Orange Man here and his attempts to delay this whole thing to seek a political resolution so that TikTok doesn't get banned?
Yeah, I don't see why not. This whole thing to me was pretty interesting from the get-go, as far as, the government's interest in TikTok in the first place. And, my initial stance was that they were interested in TikTok because, well, they didn't control it, much like they can control, Metas and Instagrams and stuff like that, where, they're pretty much working hand in hand with them. So TikTok was just, the third wheel. But on top of it being the third wheel, it was dominating everybody else. So everybody's using it. Everybody's using, and when I say everybody, all the people who use social medias. For the most part, they're using TikTok as well. And yeah, all of their information is getting uploaded and sent to a foreign adversary. And also, they don't control the content that's on there, like they can control on this platform and other large social media platforms. So I just thought their initial interest was more or less the control of information, to be honest. Now, when we're talking about all of this stuff where China is using user data and stuff like that, and I guess I guess that's a good way to spy on America, and a good way to triangulate certain things. I guess that's pretty cool. But and that was an interesting answer they gave as well, as far as, hey, we have no direct ownership of these things. But it's like, okay, bro,
Yeah.
it's rare that I agree with Biden, but yeah, just because you don't have direct ownership doesn't mean that you're not backdooring this information somewhere else. And even if they do decide to sell it to an American thing or whatever, and man, people are pretty crafty out there. There's still probably a backdoor where certain information is being sent. So, um, I mean, everything's made in China. Um, so I'm not too sure if just this. I guess the app is a direct way of taking people's data, but there's so many ways that our information is already being taken and scraped across the internet outside of TikTok. So I don't think it's so much user data more than information control and censorship. So what are your thoughts, man, on the potential TikTok ban? Trump out here trying to save the day. What are your thoughts, man?
I think this perfectly exemplifies the enigma that is Donald Trump. The ideologues, the people who live life through the lens of ideology can't fathom any particular reason why anybody would want to support and or vote for an individual such as him. But he clearly has a lot of support. And he has a lot of support not just from people who are knowledgeable or lack thereof, depending on who you're talking to about politics, but the common everyday person. He appeals to these individuals. And I think this is a part of the reason why. It's because he is front and center saying he doesn't, or not necessarily saying, but showing through actions such as this, that, TikTok being banned isn't something that he's in favor of. Just like, he appealed to a lot of people when he went on the record talking about how a lot of politicians are able to game the system in order to make money and keep the common everyday man down. And the reason why he knows that a lot of politicians are doing it is because he does it. So it was interesting that when he said that, because on the one hand, a lot of people are saying, "Damn, bro, you just admitted that you utilize the same channels to essentially keep yourself up here while everyone else stays down here as every other politician." But the mere fact that you admitted that you do it to throw the rest of these shiesty politicians under the bus kind of makes you look a little bit more favorably in our eyes. So he represents a unique enigma. It's why people gravitate towards him, even though a lot of ideologues would suggest that he's the worst kind of human in the world. And at the end of the day, like, commerce is commerce and capitalism is capitalism. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who don't like what he stands for ideologically, but they're also making money off of TikTok. Like, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of these moderate leftists or far left people. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who can't stand his individual traditional / conservative leaning politics. They might even believe that he's a bit extreme when it comes to that stuff. But a lot of those same individuals are probably leveraging social media to make money. And a lot of those people are probably leveraging TikTok to make money. So where does your politics end, and where does your desire for an open market, free market commerce type situation begin? because I'm fairly certain a lot of those people who can't stand his politics want TikTok to survive. And if it means continuing to support a lot of his endeavors in order to see that happen, their politics will be kicked to the side in order to ensure that their livelihoods can be sustainable into the future.
Mm.
And that's kind of where the rubber meets the road with a lot of this stuff for me. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. But I think at the end of the day, he appeals to a lot of people for stuff like this. You can feel some type of way about the stuff that he says and how he conducts himself behaviorally. But if you're an influencer, if you're one of these people who are leveraging new media to make money, a lot of these existential threats can at some point affect a lot of the modes by which you earn a livelihood. And if you don't want to see that in, an individual such as him, might be the channel by which you can secure your relative future. And a lot of people are going to have to face that reality and make that choice. And I think if push comes to shove, most people are going to make the choice of their livelihood rather than their ideological political leanings. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think this is the kind of stuff that represents why so many people ride for him in certain respects. And it represents why so many people who can't fathom why someone would ride for him need to open their eyes up to understand that at a certain point, things are bigger than ideology.
Yeah, man. I agree with that. And my stance was more or less of, why try to do this in the first place? Because again, there's a lot of stuff made in China, and especially just regular apps. So it don't even have to be TikTok. It could be just some Candy Crush type game that, Granny's playing. And, they're downloading and scraping information, listening, and all type of stuff. And it's not just TikTok.
Right. Especially if you submit payment information.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of scraping going on. So for them to be talking about user information and even your location, it's like, woman, please. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all know that at this point. Even if we turn our location off, even if we turn our phones off, we know that these things could potentially still be listening. So, or tracking. So at this point of the game, man, whenever you have these devices in your hand, it's not really much you can do as far as having privacy. So for them to be concerned about, just TikTok doing data stuff and stuff, to me, I found that a little, sound like an excuse. So you have something to say?
No. I'm agreeing with you, 100. Yeah. I just think people, it's the China thing. Because I agree with you 100%. Like y'all have been, like most people, I don't know if people realize this or not, but you guys have been, and I include myself in this, I'm not above this, I've been doing the same thing. I've been forfeiting my data and privacy for years. For years. Is it any better that Meta is who I have been forfeiting my data to, as opposed to a company that created an app that originated in China, which is a quote unquote foreign adversary? Is that what makes a difference? Because like we've all been forfeiting our data for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
For a very long time. And it's one of those things that's made me roll my eyes at a lot of conspiracy theorists who talk about what this piece of technology does. Comcast is doing this, and the entertainment industry is doing that. And, the phone companies are doing this, and Xbox and PlayStation and all of this other stuff. And people are fear mongering over this, over identity theft and security and data breaches. But you've been submitting your data to Instagram for 10 years, but you're okay with that because you like Instagram. So you don't even think about it. But it's the same level of risk that you're putting yourself at because you forfeited all this data. So I think a lot of this is being cherry picked because of the China angle. And it makes it convenient for people to play that up because of the China angle. But to me, forfeiting data is forfeiting data as far as I'm concerned. And we've been doing it for the longest time.
Yeah, and I agree, man. So that's why I felt like it was more of a flow of information and control. And, as far as these large social media platforms that are domestic, all right, or have domestic interests or whatever, they all have the same levels of censorship and all other things. So, but TikTok doesn't abide by those. So they do, but not to the same extent. So I think it's more or less a way of just controlling its that channel by saying, "Hey, either y'all give it up or we'll take it," type of thing. So yeah, man, they're playing hardball, man. Get down to lay down type of stuff, at least initially. So, for Trump to get in there and say, "Hey, man, I'm pretty sure there's another way to do this." We'll see what happens, but get off the brain rock, guys. TikTok ain't for you. That stuff is brain degeneration, man. So be easy with that damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget which season it was, but back when House of Cards was still good, there was a storyline, there was a subplot within the overall plot of the show where in
Mhm.
order to influence an election, they were strong arming a very popular social media app, I think, to try to steer the election from in the show, not the actual election, but just fictional from the show. They're trying to
Mhm.
steer it in a particular direction. My point being, guys, your data and your privacy has already been forfeited. Like this is not something that just started with TikTok in China. It's
Mhm.
already been forfeited,
Mhm.
and your freedoms therein have already been forfeited because they're being actively used against you. And I guess if it makes you feel better at night to know that it's happening domestically versus happening across the water, I guess you can rest assured that if you want. But to me, you know, a data breach is a data breach. A security, giving up security and data and privacy is giving it up. To me, I look at it all the same.
Yeah, man, it's a real tomatoes situation. So, hey, man, take your pick. I really don't give a damn myself. Once I hit okay on I acknowledge on all these terms and agreements. It's whatever at that point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. People ain't gonna want to hear it, man. You got way too many people making money off this stuff. Whether it's individual people who are trying to leverage brands and they're trying to be influencers, all of these fake ass gym influencers posting videos on TikTok, cooking with Kaya's of the world, all of these people making all of this money, all of these people making money off of TikTok. I guarantee you they'll all pay lip service to the idea that they can't stand Trump, but I'm pretty sure they don't want TikTok to go away.
Yeah,
So
facts.
it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
Damn.